don't win the weekly prize, you will go into the final draw for that wonderful Nissan to be won. It's Nissan 4x2 double cab. Well, time for us now to take you into stage 2 and the highlights. Don't forget to keep your eyes open for the 2 South Africans, Van Deventer and Cox. They're going along reasonably well. This particular second stage is from Chateauroux through to Narbonne, and it's as long as 598 kilometres. Enjoy the action.
Well, Dakar 2002 is certainly underway as we are now well into our second day of the World Motorsport Epic event. We've had some drama in the bikes. Just stay tuned and find out who has been victorious on one of the most muddiest stages you've ever seen. And in the car section, well, surprises there with a new car indeed. So this is looking back to last night in the town of Aras towards the north of France, some 120 miles north of Paris itself. In the town square, some 18,000 people saw the defending motorcycle champion on the Dakar, Fabrizio Mioni from Tuscany in Italy, being seen off by Hubert Auriol, a winner himself, of course, on bikes and in cars. Then we, of course, saw Jordi Arcarons, De Gavado, South Africa's Alfie Cox with the Gauloise KTM, and France's hero, Richard Sanct, a 2-time winner. He didn't get to the finish last year. He'll be hoping for good stuff this year. So will Giovanni Sala. He is teammate to Mioni on the twin. Kari Tiernan from Finland, smiling as ever. And then Nani Roma and Cyril Desprez, the young Frenchman. All of the emotions beginning to come to the fore as we see number 171, the quad of South African Wikus van Deventer, with his Bombardier quad coming over the starting ramp. Hubert Auriol shaking everybody's hand. A countdown had started for the cars. Go for Jutta Kleinsmith, the defending Dakar champion, the German lady driver with Andreas Schulz alongside her in her brand new Mitsubishi Pajero. Voted by the German public as their top motorsports person from 2001, ahead of Michael and Ralf Schumacher. She's certainly got something to look up to. Next over the starting ramp was Hiroshi Mashioka. Hero or villain, call him what you will, but he's a clever driver and a very, very clever engineer. Jean-Louis Schlesser going for his 3rd win. Gregoire de Mavius, the gentleman from Belgium. Carlos Souza from Portugal in his Mitsubishi. And Jose Maria Servia in a similar buggy to Schlesser, but with a petrol V6. De La Verne in his Nissan. Gilles Picard and Jean-Pierre Fontenay, the former victor in his Mitsubishi. Stefan Pederhansel, 6-time winner on 2 wheels in the Dakar. Bruno Sabi in the Ford Pro Truck. Kenjiro Shinozuka, he's got a new co-driver this year with Delizotti. And Luc Alphonse, the 1997 World Downhill Ski Champion. And all sorts of other bits of machinery there as well. But the biggest crowd and the biggest cheer had been reserved for French pop star Johnny Hallyday. 120 million albums he has sold. He's got René Metz alongside him just in the background there, a former 3-time winner of the Dakar and French motorsport hero. I'll tell you what, there wasn't half a scrum outside his hotel last night once the word had got out where Johnny Hallyday was staying. Onto the trucks. saw the Sugawara truck, the Japanese Hino, and the real camels of the desert, and then the Unimog Mercedes-based machine with Bernard Anquetil after Corrado Patano, and then the Kamaz, the single Kamaz of Vladimir Chagin. And after the starting ramp, the motorcycles, the cars and the trucks had to find their way somehow through the enormous crowd that had gathered in Aras. The popularity of the Dakar, quite breathtaking. However, but for motorcycle number 150, Serge Dugas, he was in all sorts of trouble a mere 800 meters after the start when he ran into some fuel problems. After looking around the bike and then actually getting some help of some friendly and knowledgeable spectators. I didn't even know the names of some of them, so he had to do the courtesies and find out that the gentleman with the white cap was called Bertrand. And then he had to go for the big kick. Didn't want to drain the battery, so went for the kickstart, and so the first person to run into a problem was actually, he'd forgotten to turn the fuel on. Now this is Britain's Matt Stevenson. He's co-driving for Al Hadjari, and he's actually saying in French, ironically, that he's had to make his first pit stop. Well, why? Well, Saeed Al Hadjari, two-time Middle East rally champion in his Mitsubishi, he'd cooked his clutch right in the town of Aras, and therefore he called upon the services of the local Mitsubishi dealer to get the thing in the air and take the box out. And the proprietor of the garage doing his little bit for world motorsport on the Dakar.
It's first race in Dakar, yes.
Yeah. It's a hard time now.
Already hard time. I know the race is very hard, but it's hard time already.
This is Dominic Serrier, who's the team boss for Mitsubishi. He said it's not normal to have so many people on the streets, and it's meant that Saeed has had to slip the clutch getting through the people. Racing clutch, remember. And a piece of that clutch has fallen into the area around the clutch, and that's meant that we have had to change the unit. However, as with all things on the Dakar, it got fixed, and Saeed Al Hadjari, his first ever Dakar, not too good a start, but he was on his way. So then, day 2 of Dakar 02, Châteauroux to Narbonne, a road section of some 82 kilometres after the overnight halt, then a short stage of some 6 kilometres at La Souterraine, and then a massive 530-kilometre road section down south to Narbonne itself, making a total of 618. So many of the riders arrived at the start of the stage this morning, very, very cold indeed, and you can see the conditions, an absolute quagmire. Well, when the recce and the route was planned, maybe even some 12 months ago or even 18 months ago, I bet you they didn't quite plan on this amount of rain. And some people, these poor motorcycle riders, your heart really does have to go out to them, falling already. If they weren't wet enough and cold enough, they were certainly then muddy enough. Mike Exton's there from the UK, battling through with his Husserberg. Some of the riders at the start hugging the exhausts, hugging the crankcases to try and warm their hands up even after the 82-kilometre road section, which is some 50 miles in length. And after the stage, as you can see, the results of the mud. However, it was motorcycle number 139 who came out on top. Here he is, just about to hand his time card in, and it's Pierre Quinonero on his KTM, entered under the Dakar Jura banner. Now, the Jura is a region of France with some small rolling hills, and there's a two-man motorcycle team, and Pierre, he actually blitzed the opposition to finish first on today's stage. And it really does prove that sometimes the underdogs really can win a stage over the Dakar against the professionals. He'll be certainly grateful for the prize money, and let us not forget, ladies and gents, on a production bike. Kari Tiernan, 6-time World Enduro Champion, second on the stage, some 5 seconds back of the winner. It has to be said that the motorcycles did run in reverse order, so Tiernan running quite a way behind Pierre Quinonero, who was, as I say, motorcycle number 139. Third on the stage and getting a very luminous orange Repsol KTM Dirty very quickly. Nani Roma, third on the stage. He was 15 seconds back of the winner and a 10 back of Tiernan, taking things very steadily indeed, as you can see through the corners. Nani Roma, former BMW Works rider last year, unfortunately broke his leg just before the rest day in Atar on the 2001 edition. Fourth on the stage today, Frenchman Cyril Desprez, 16 seconds back of the winner, only 4 back of Nani Roma. Winner of a stage on last year's Dakar late in the event. The young pro from France, the first of the Gaulois riders today. Let us not forget that he won the recent UAE Marlborough Desert Challenge only just a couple of weeks back in November. Fifth today was the teammate of the winner. Now this is Celso Corraro on another KTM, teammate in the same Euro Dakar squad. So finishing fifth today, certainly a good scalp. Jean Broussy from France, the second of the KTM Gaulois sponsored machines. Jean Broussy finishing 33 seconds back with a time of 6 minutes 45. Francois Flick on the German-run Touratech 650 rally machine, lives in the local region, so he was very keen indeed to put up a show for his local crowd. Number 87, Christophe Mayon, the highest Honda rider on today's stage with his 650 XR. Mayon finishing in 8th position. Flick and Broussy, by the way, dead heating. Here is Eric Verhoef, the Dutchman. And then we move on to Esteve Pujol. Verhoef in 9th, Pujol finishing in 10th position with his Repsol machine. But what about Mioni, the defending champion? He was back in 16th position, just 1 place ahead of Alfie Cox, who was cold but soldiered through. So then, the results. What a shock for Pierre Quinonero, 6 minutes 12, finishing 5 ahead of Tiernan, Roma, Desprez and Carrara. Nani Roma saying to ride that sort of stage you really have to choose a very good line through the corners. It's not easy to see that line. I chose wide lines, but I'm not an expert in these muddy conditions. Many others are better at it. Cyril Desprez, he says, we had a great deal of fun on this very slippery stage, but it's okay for me.
C'est sympa, on a voulu faire, on a fait un petit peu de spectacle et les gens qui ont attendu depuis ce matin doivent être contents quand même.
Mais un petit problème.
The question, what happened in the middle of the stage? He says that I made a little mistake and my engine stopped, so I had to restart the bike. Took me a little time, but now it's okay. Now then, this is the brand new Seat Dakar rally car, which is based on the same specification car as a Kenyan WRC car in the World Rally Championship. It's built out of Spain, and this is the winner of today's stage from Spain, Fernando Gil. Formerly a motorbike rider on the Dakar and in trucks, this is a brand new car with a 1.9 turbo diesel engine. Same chassis, same wheelbase as the WRC Cordoba. It's got a big fuel tank behind the bulkhead, behind the drivers. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a very good close look at the machine, and it is going to turn some heads. And I spoke with Benoit Bagueur this morning, the technical chief of Seat Sport, and they are on a mission to go on to bigger and better things with the Dakar. This is second place man today, Miguel Prieto, in number 218. certainly a day for Spain, making it a 1-2. Prieto's Pajero coming in some massive 26 seconds behind the Seat of Fernando Gil. The Gil Seat, by the way, having some very special mud tires, and you can see why. Now this is Stefan Pederhansel with his Nissan mid-engine V6, 3.5 litre, and I'll tell you what, it's built in South Africa. It's the same car as what Gregoire de Mavius has got, and it is a jewel of engineering. Now onto the Mitsubishis. Kenjiro Shinazuka, he actually caught Bruno Sabi's two-wheel drive Ford Protoc truck on the stage, not for 1 minute, but for 2. That was how advantageous the four-wheel drives were in these conditions. Winner of the Portuguese Baja in 0-1, Carlos Souza with his L200 crew cab Mitsubishi. Souza finishing in 5th position today. But some 44 seconds back of the winner, Fernando Gil. On to car number 201. This is Hiroshi Mashioka, the Japanese driver in his Pajero. He finished 6th. A mere 6-kilometre stage, but you can never win anything on the Super Specials, but you can lose everything. Here's Jean-Pierre Fontenay struggling through before the defending champion, Jutta Kleinschmidt. It has to be said that although the motorcycles ran in reverse orders, the cars ran in numerical order, so it was Kleinschmidt who battled through the quagmire conditions first. Kleinschmidt finishing in 8th position. Al-Hajri finishing back in 16th. And Mark Round from the UK in 26th. Now here is Gregoire de Mavius. De Mavius saying after the stage, he said it was like a holiday on ice, and he caught Schlesser on the stage, not for 1 minute, but again for 2. Now here is Jose Maria Servia from Spain. He finished in 12th position with the petrol V6 Kangoo. Two-wheel drive, as you can see. Now this is Jean-Louis Schlesser, the 2-time winner of the Dakar, 68th position. Losing a massive amount of time, and you can see why, struggling with a two-wheel drive, a very light car, of course, and Schlesser losing some 3 minutes 49 seconds. This is his new teammate with the diesel turbo. This is Stefan Orard out of Belgium, and he had to get his co-driver out of the car, put the little pieces of wood underneath the rear wheels just to get up a very, very shallow slope. Ironically, leaving his co-driver Jean-Marie Lerquin behind for a moment at least. Number 29, Bruno Sabi with the very aerodynamically tailed Ford Ranger Pro Truck, an official entry. He finished in 29th position. And here's Johnny Halliday on his first Dakar stage. Not his first rally raid stage, he did a couple of rally raids in the FIA Championship during the summer. And as you can see, as we say in the UK, it was just mud, mud, glorious mud. The results of the car section on day 2 of Dakar 02. Fernando Gil, his first ever stage for the Dakar in a car, and he's got a 100% record ahead of Prieto and Pederhansel. This is Fernando Gil. He says, someone has just told me that I finished in first position, but I'm not quite sure of this because there are still many cars still to come through the stage. But in case I win, it's my first stage in a car on the Dakar. I'm very happy, not only for us, but also I'm very happy for my sponsors, Repsol and Telefonica and Seat.
Tanto por nosotros como por nuestros patrocinadores Telefónica, Movistar y Repsol YPF.
Stefan Pederhansel, he says, I was very afraid when I arrived at the stage this morning and I saw that it was all mud, because at that sort of stage you can lose more times than you can gain. It was funny though, because it reminded me of the Andros ice racing trophy that we have here in France. it was the same type of driving that I had to implement. The only negative point is that the mechanics now are going to have to spend a lot of time cleaning this car, and that means that it's more time for them. This is Schlesser. He says that we cannot do anything with two-wheel drive on that sort of a stage. We will wait for better moments in Africa, though. The question, but you were completely stopped at one point, and Damavius came past you. Yes, he says, it's a drama. We were stopped in the mud with absolutely no grip, but we couldn't do anything else.
On est resté sur place, coaché. C'est dramatique.
Yeah, that's what my name is Dror. In Hebrew it means freedom, and it means a bird. So I'm like a free bird, you know? There's a song like in the, the MTV.
Dror Cohen is in his early 30s and was a fighter pilot with the Israeli Air Force in an F-16. However, he was unfortunately involved in a road accident in a minibus when he was in the army. He is the first disabled driver to compete in the Dakar.
Africa is always a dream. There's different population, different sand, different smell, I think, and you combine this with motorsport and competition, and it's for me the best. I love it, and I hope it works well. Africa is a mystery for Elie, pour moi, and I hope we come on top.
Confined to a wheelchair now, he still fights on bravely as he has competed in the Sydney Olympics in the sailing section. Also, he has been in the wheelchair section of the New York Marathon, and he also drives an off-road buggy back at home.
Okay, so how do I drive the car? First of all, it's an automatic car. Second, I have this hand control here. When I pull, it pushes the accelerator, and when I push, it pushes the brakes. It's power steering. On my left hand, it's over here. My right hand, it's over here. And that's how I drive the car.
Remember that Clay Regazzoni from Switzerland was a former Ferrari Formula One works driver, and he now is unfortunately also confined to a wheelchair after his Long Beach Formula One accident when the brake pedal snapped. However, Clay Regazzoni, he still mixes it with the best of them on the circuits. So, for Dror Cohen, he's certainly got the opportunity to do it on the Dakar.
I think every person has to live his life and to stay balanced, okay? This is what makes me balance to my life. Doing the extreme sports, doing the Dakar, doing all these things that I do, keep me in balance. We live in a crazy world, and every person has to find his way to stay in balance, right? This is my way. I love it, and it makes me feel good, and that's what I say to people. Do things that make you feel good. It doesn't matter if you read a book, do ski, sit and look at the sun on the beach, do the Dakar. Just find a way to make yourself a good life, because it's hard. It's a hard life.
Dror Cohen, a charming, charming gentleman who is very, very brave indeed. And he was over the start ramp last night in Aras, and he was certainly grinning from ear to ear, his co-driver recording the moment. No trucks today, so we look straight on to tomorrow. A short 21k road section to the stage at Chateau Las Tours, which is of 35 kilometers in length before the long drive over the border to Spain, where the overnight halt is in Madrid. The total distance for the day is some 906 kilometers, an enormous day for everybody in Dakar 2002. Today, though, has been a day of mud and of rain and of cold, and we look forward to tomorrow. Join us for more then.